Hello, everyone, and welcome to another outstanding episode of Empowered Conversations. And today I am live on Instagram as well. So this is something brand new for me. I'm so super excited. And I'm going to, in just a second, I'll be bringing my guest on. So Empowered Conversations, guys, is where I have amazing conversations with extraordinary people who are out doing beautiful things in the world in service to others, as well as just being their best selves and living their best lives. And that is none other than my guest today, Goddess Canela, who I am through the roof excited to be speaking with. We were just having a conversation. It's like, wow, this could all be a part of Empowered Conversations. Goddess Canela is a Wiccan witch who specializes in doing tarot, astrology, witchcraft, and coaching for those seeking counsel in sex, love, relationships, self-love, intimacy, and wellness. She practices love in many forms and truly believes the power of intimacy can lead you to many things you'd want to manifest in your life. Nothing can be as powerful as love. And the orgasm is magic, best felt at the body, hands and lips of true intimacy. She is an initiated priestess of Gardnerian tradition and has become solitary in her practice with knowledge in multiple traditions in traditional witchcraft and other forms of spirituality. She is a licensed massage therapist, personal trainer, nutrition coach, and master herbalist. For the past 13 years, she's dedicated her life to holistic health and strayed away from modern day medicine. She truly believes that with proper healing and dedication, one can heal the body from many different ailments. To truly love one another, or to truly love another, you must love yourself. Boy, is she speaking my language. When you love yourself, your soul will travel places you could only imagine it going towards. I am witch. I am healer. I am beauty. I am powerful. I am the Goddess Canela. All right, everybody. I'm bringing her on, everybody. Whoop! Drum roll, please. Go live. Yippity, 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 yip. What's up, girl? Are you on?
Hello.
There you are. Yay! We're on Instagram. Holy freaking cow. This is exciting. Oh my God, girl. How are you doing today, this Friday?
So great. It is the day of love. It is Friday.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And it's a new moon in Cancer.
Oh, girl, you have no idea the excitement around this new moon and this new lunar cycle.
Yes, I'm so excited for it. It's such a powerful time. Truly, such raw emotions.
Well, Goddess Canela, it is such an honor to have you here with me, speaking with me today. I remember I was at Curio Craft and Conjure, and I had just gotten a reading from Gianna, and you and Gina were going in to do your podcast.
Right.
And it was kind of a whoop, whoop, and we were like, hey, how you? Because we were like, Gina was introducing us. And I got home and I watched that, it was an Instagram podcast that you did with Gina. What's the name of it? And what's the name of your?
Goddess Canela TV.
Goddess Canela TV. Okay, all right, and I watched it and I was commenting. It resonated so much what you guys were talking about, what you were sharing, that I'm like, I gotta be talking to this girl. She needs to come on Empowered Conversations.
Well, I am most grateful, and thank you so much for having me on here. I love your vibe, and I love that you are raw and authentic in your truths and what you're talking about. And that's what I'm all about. So there's nothing to be discreet about at all.
I'm telling you right now, nothing more resonates with me more than when somebody is true to their authentic self, who owns themselves like you clearly do. And yeah, I mean, I love, strong women are empowered by other strong women, because strength comes from that deep inner knowing, that deep inner value, self-worth. And you know when somebody possesses that, and you celebrate and fly your fabulous.
Yes. Yes, honey. God is blessed all day.
Well, girl, I like to get real deep at the very beginning. I just come right on out and I ask, because I like, again, I want to know your why. I want to know what just lights you up, what fervently lights you up, and the reasons and why you're where you are today, and what you're doing, bringing your gifts forward to the world for others. And everybody has got their story. Everybody has got their pain, their success, their joy. And I want to know, like, what your life, like, what epiphanies, what revelations, what brought you to where exactly it is you are today, and what you are doing for others out in the world.
Okay, we're going to try to do this without making this a tearjerker conversation.
If it is, it is. If it is, it is.
So long term, I've been in health and wellness for the last 13 years. Long story short, that started because when I was 7 is a big crucial thing right here for my answer. So when I was 7, 2 huge things happened to me that brought me down the lifestyle of wellness, and then also brought me down the lifestyle of sex and intimacy. So when I was 7, when my dad was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, he actually would have just had his 67th birthday here on the 6th of July. His death anniversary is coming up actually on the 13th. And I hated how Western medicine did him completely. The lack of knowledge in nutrition, the lack of knowledge in lifestyle changes, and just everything was just pushing medicine. And by the time he was in his late 30s, by the time he was 44, he was already a full quadriplegic in a wheelchair living in a nursing home. He was one of the youngest people to live in a nursing home that they've reported to us ever. So that has been my life, to go down the holistic path and become an herbalist, get into nutrition, get into fitness, and push that so much in an obnoxious way.
Right. Oh, I get it.
And then on the spiritual level, the same thing. When I was 7, I have a first cousin who, for a very, very long time, for almost 2 years, when we would hang out, he unfortunately was my first feeling of intimacy when it came, not necessarily to penile penetration, but from oral sex, digit sex, fingers, and other things that he has done. So he was my first time witnessing that for the first 2 years of my pre-pubescent life. And when that was happening and I was going through it, that is when the great goddess Artemis came to me to protect me and remind me of my power, and remind me that she'll handle the situation accordingly. So around that same time, I got introduced to like Stevie Nicks, to classical rock. I started watching The Craft and Harry Potter and Practical Magic. And I was just like, from that voice I heard, that I thought I was nuts when I was like in deep depression. But from there, what I've come to realize was there was something to this. And I started studying it when I was really young, but everywhere I would go to ask about it, a lot of covens and stuff were like, you're too young, give it a minute, like wait till you're a little bit older to really see if this is the dedication that you wanted. So I kind of just studied by myself. And then when I did get older, I had the honor of joining my high priest and high priestess in a Gardnerian coven who raised me, if you will. And because they're back in New York and I moved to North Carolina, that's the only reason why I had to kind of push myself to go solitary, just because my coven mates are up there. So this is where I was like, spirituality is such a big part of wellness. Because without it, it literally saved my life on multiple occasions. It saved my life during a horrible divorce that I had years ago. It has saved my life through countless heartbreaks. And it also has healed me through what occurred with my cousin, reconnecting with the womb, reconnecting with my vagina. And ever since I was a teenager, I've been talking about sex. Like my friends used to invite me over to house parties to have me show them how to twerk. and you still have them show them how to properly give oral sex without like hurting yourself. And this is shit that was, and my friends would always be like, "Oh, you should be a sex therapist. You should be a sex therapist."
Oh.
I was like, hell no, I don't want anything to do with Western medicine. I don't want to like go to school to be a no. So then spiritually, magically, when I became pagan and Wiccan, they were like, girl, we honor sex. We honor the goddess.
Exactly.
Therapist, just tap in.
Exactly.
And that's where I am right now.
Right. Well, I know that you were raised Catholic.
Yes.
I was raised Southern Baptist, and sex is a no-no.
Unless we're with little boys. Sorry, I had to say that.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, and that's not a joke, but, and I, you know what, I have my own philosophy, or should I say, not philosophy, but hypothesis on why, because of, to be a Catholic priest, I think you go into whatever it is that they start teaching you when you're like 11, 12, 13.
Yes, and it's all about celibacy and marriage.
That's right when you are becoming, you're growing that which is going to produce the hormones that make you a man, and that's when you really start to have that sexual desire, and for that to be shut down.
Yes,
like no. I think that what that does is it creates sickness, like a sick, and then it becomes because and I noticed this, and this is what I noticed when I went to Amsterdam. Repression equals perversion.
Yeah.
And when I say that about Amsterdam, because over there they're so unrepressed, they're so celebratory of the body, the naked body, men and women, full frontal, everything about the body is celebrated as beautiful instead of shame. And in organized religion, most of them, sex and the body are dirty and shamed.
The women's period is dirty, even though technically what we're doing is cleansing ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
It's part of science. It's part of anatomy.
Exactly.
If you want to talk about magic, having sex on your period gives you a long-lasting soul tie with those people that you have sex with on your period. That's why they never leave you alone.
Right. And that is why, I mean, even, throughout the animal kingdom, because, it's, you can smell, they pick up when in heat.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that's when we're our horniest. And at the same time, we can back up and leave us alone. It's so unfair.
Right. And it's just the damage that has been done, because in my experience and in my opinion, based upon my life and what I see, and especially with, what goes on around us, I think that, that is what has created the toxic masculinity, the toxic sex, toxic sexuality. Toxic sexuality creates toxic masculinity. Okay. And rape culture, because, men are given the license. And I remember, from a little girl hearing, it's the more you're more of a man, the more partners, the more women you can bed, the more pussy you get.
Right.
And women were shamed and slut shamed, and you're not supposed to want sex, you're supposed to only want one guy, and then they even try to biologically prove that. And I don't know if you've ever heard me talk about this book, Dr. Tatiana's Sexual Advice to All of Creation. It's based on an incomplete study on the Drosophila fruit fly. Where incomplete, bad scientific data that says, oh, women aren't horny. They just want one guy, and men, they just want to, just spread their seed. And you can't do that. You can't condition us the opposite directions.
Well, meanwhile, the show that you watched me do with Gina over at Curiocraft and Condoms, we talked about how actually, if we're going to get down to it, the more men have partners, the dumber and the weaker they become.
Right.
Which is easy to manipulate men. And that the more orgasms and less children women have, the more powerful they are, the healthier they are, the more in tune that they are in.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of choosing which energies we would like inside of us. But yes,
Yes.
Quite the opposite.
Yes.
So.
And have you ever read the book, The Power of I Am?
I have not.
Okay. Well, in that they talk about those who have a very strong like who own, or everybody's got a natural strong sexual presence. A lot of people just suppress it, but those who do not and realize it and actualize on it are more self-confident and have a stronger sense of self-awareness and self-power,
Yeah.
and present themselves as more powerful actually are not even present, they are more powerful in the world. And power is not about taking from others or being able to make someone submissive to you. Your self-power is like what we were talking about. Like, I love empowered women, because an empowered woman is not intimidated by another empowered woman.
Heck no, we are out here raising each other back up.
Exactly.
The revolution is here.
Celebrating one another. Absolutely.
And the women that just put other women down, it's literally just you're no better than the man that do too.
Right. Exactly.
So,
hurt people, happy people don't.
Correct. And this is why I encourage all of my beautiful woman of the world to please, like, when you hear a girl in need that's suffering, speaking foolishly, naivety, or anything of that level, have some compassion and understanding why she would be that way, and help lift her up out of that. Even if it means recommending a book to her, if it recommends like watching a certain, documentary or something. You don't have to be pushy, but you can certainly offer support in different ways.
Absolutely. And to that point, like, we all have our different realities, and and our eyes see from that our reality. So that's why it's like, I consider myself a very open, very free, a person who is willing to expand my perception of what could possibly be, because I'm always seeking. But however, to that point, I don't judge. I can practice discernment. I can certainly practice discernment when I'm looking at somebody who's exuding or saying something that I'm like, God, if they only frickin' knew, But again, it's like, I can't technically judge that person, because they have not lived my life. They haven't had my experiences, because my experiences have created my mindset, as every person on the planet. And when someone doesn't, like, because we've seen this the past 4 to 5 years, when people don't agree and they'll argue on Facebook, for instance, it's like, okay, you're not going to win an argument, or you're not going to convince that person that you're right and they're wrong on Facebook. There's no way that you can possibly see their point of view, because you have not lived their life.
Yes. And also, not just that you don't live their life, but you don't have the capacity mentally to think outside of your little bubble.
Right.
And to think outside of what you've been taught, what's normal around you, what your parents might have told you.
Exactly.
And the same goes for sex. That's why, like, you have like the whole influence of like porn and social media porn and all of that. It's like now there's a specific thing. This is how women need to look. This is how women need to be. This is how men need to be. This is how they need to look. And it's like, no, if you actually just think outside of the bubble and just go and have the conversation with the actual individual of interest that you have, get to know them, so then you could properly understand them.
Right.
And that doesn't exist. And this is why what you and I are doing is so fucking powerful, because I'm just like, fucking talk to people. Like, I have a reason why they're this way. That maybe there's a possibility to have some enlightenment, have some healing, have growth. Like, doesn't make sense to me. Especially when we're talking about sex. That is the most intimate thing you're doing. And there's a great there was this great quote actually I literally just saw a couple of nights ago, and I saw it on TikTok and not Instagram. I'm pretty sure it was TikTok. And someone said, people are out here more willing to perform exotic, crazy sexual acts with a complete stranger, but the second you tell them I don't want to be in a relationship because I'm scared of commitment, that the relationship idea is off the table. So you'll go and do all of this shit with a stranger that's very intimate, but
Right.
when depth, when conversation, when commitment, when intimacy comes into play, it's like, not doing that. We're not discussing that.
Right. And it's because we have been somewhat conditioned that sex is either an emotional thing and supposed to be tied to loving feelings, or it's something that's dirty. And, whereas I've always been able to compartmentalize very well. I'm a very emotional person, but I'm not a very sentimental person. Like, for instance, I love the movie The Notebook, but I can't stand the Hallmark Channel.
Right.
And
for different reasons, yes.
Right, exactly. Oh my God. But you know what? And the conversations that we're having today and the conversations that you have on your podcast are necessary. And it's not that, because see, here's the thing, Canela. I fervently, adamantly, 100, I just believe in the way I believe, but it doesn't mean that I'm not open. And I come across very strong in my opinions, but I do not expect someone, as much as I may want them to, I do not expect someone to completely agree with me, because there's no way they can unless they're coming from my perspective.
Right. And not just that, but people also have to have an understanding that we're all not meant to live the same life. Like we just discussed how you're now atheist and how I'm Wiccan and I do have deities that I believe in. I'm not going to question why you're doing it, but the same thing is that there are people in historical time periods that have mentioned that they have experienced, have been spoken to, have witnessed bigger, sources. So, why would that be miraculously impossible to believe that witches had the ability to speak to higher sources? If people could speak to the dead, why can't people speak to deity?
Right.
If people can speak to their animals and have a divine connection to them, why can't people have a connection to plants like root workers? So this is where it's like, everyone is not meant to live the same life. So if you're going to go about it as my life and my way is the way, you failed. You failed your mission in life, being a decent human fucking being.
Right.
That's period. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Everybody's experience. Period.
I'm sorry, could you say that again? You cut out a little bit.
You got to accept everybody's experience.
Thank you.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't accept it, who the fuck cares? It was their experience anyway, and they're going to keep living and pushing.
Right.
You're going to be the one sitting there judging and gossiping and in bewilderment of, I don't understand why this person is happening. Meanwhile, that person just left the conversation, like exit stage left, and continued living their life.
Right. Abso-freaking-lutely. And, to what you just said a while ago is when I was explaining to you, there's an echo. Do you hear an echo?
There's an echo because we're on two different social media devices.
Okay. Because I turned everything down. But when I was explaining to you that I consider myself a spiritual atheist humanist, and someone who doesn't matter, like Christian, non-Christian, Muslim, someone who's atheist, anybody can come at me and go, what do you mean? How can you? And I have my way based upon my life and my reasoning of how it is that I explain that why I'm a theist. To me, theism is the belief in a deity, something that is separate from you, that's just out there that you're praying to in hopes to obtain a reward or abstain from a fictitious place that was, at least I was led to believe, called hell growing up. Right. And I'm that. But and I've said this on my podcast before, when I was a biology major and in organic chemistry one day, this was such a revelation for me. It was such a boom. I just happened to be gazing at the periodic table, and, everything around us that we can see, feel, touch, taste, smell, breathe is an element.
Right.
and there are those elements. That's not even to say that there aren't elements that may exist that we're not even aware of yet. But I'm like, okay, well, everything that exists, which exists, is all just different conglomerations of those elements from the periodic table. Hence, everything is one.
Right.
Everything, and I could use the word God. I could say everything is God. So I'm a very spiritual person. God, or yeah, God got us. Yeah,
to really remember that they're not just the male.
Yes, God got us. It's all just all that energy, and that's why I believe in prayer. And my definition of prayer is when you are allowing yourself the access to those elements that you can combine together to create and manifest that which is in line with your heart-centered desires. And whether it is the wellness of somebody who is sick, I do believe that prayer, and again, prayer is the connection of consciousness to all consciousness, and everything is consciousness.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, the thing that you say that was interesting is that your reference went right to hell, right?
Right.
As a Wiccan, like, we don't believe in that shit. Like, we don't believe in a heaven and hell. It's a straight up. There are people that believe in reincarnation. That whatever you did in this life,
I believe in reincarnation
to determine what's going to fucking happen in the next one. And
that makes sense.
It depends. And there's this whole thing that I don't think people realize, that we are, if we're going to go into a heaven and hell description, there's no difference in saying we believe in light and dark. Right. So we have light and shadow sides. This is fucking, if we want to be clear, this is fucking hell. You know, why do we have to deal with whatever the fuck we did in our past life that now we have to figure our shit out now? That's fucking hell to me. We're dealing with, if we want to get into the Catholicism part of it, we deal with lust, we deal with greed, we deal with wrath, we deal with envy, we deal with pride, we deal with gluttony, and we deal with sloth on a regular motherfucking basis. So if we're going to get theological here, we're in fucking hell.
Yeah, so, technically speaking.
Yes. So it's like, I always try to tell people, like, understand religion, witchcraft, Wicca, because Wicca is the religion. You could be Wiccan and not do witchcraft. You can also do witchcraft and not be Wiccan. There are plenty of religion shows all of us how they all do witchcraft. But people need to understand that when you can sit back and think outside the box, that these are just things for people to relate. It's just to be able to have people understand something. It's a story. And like the whole idea of, if we're going to get into the biblical sense, if we're going to talk about, the story of David and Goliath, that whole story is not because an actual being like did it. It's to show people to stand up for yourself. And when you feel weak, or when you feel less than somebody, to understand that even that bigger person, or that more powerful person, that richer person has weakness too. And that you have your own power. And if we're going to go into deity and Greek god work, like if we want to talk about the story of Athena and the spider and Arachnia, that whole story was being able to rewrite your own life to succeed.
Right.
So, and to show that even deity makes mistakes sometimes. It depends how you want to read that version. But this is why I tell people, like, I love it, admire it, embrace it, but understand that's not the be all fucking end all for the whole goddamn world of billions of people.
Yeah, and for me, it is to realize that we are all a part of one another. That again, because we are all a part and conglomerated with all the energy that exists. So for you to think that you are separated from people in Mexico, or people in Russia, or people other places, you're not. We are all one, and it is imperative, if we really are, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And that's not even inherently Christian. That was even before Christianity came into play. And if every single human being actually did operate and live their life from that space, it would be heaven on earth. We would, because, we would want to treat others, because we would want to receive that You know, and to see all people with love and compassion and empathy, and let's figure out collectively how we can implement practices and systems where all people in the entire world can thrive. And we're not there. We're not there. And is it going to happen in our lifetime? No. And I'm not an idiot to believe that. But planting seeds,
Right.
because look, like 100 years ago, you and I couldn't vote.
Correct.
I mean, and we still have a lot farther to go. But it's like, you know, 150 years ago, if you would have the thought of me and you being side by side talking about stuff, anything, was like,
we wouldn't be
you're
here right
crazy.
now. This wouldn't happen.
You're crazy.
Even now, unfortunately, like as a witch, there are still countries I can never go to out of the fear that it is legal in their countries to kill a witch on site. So that's stupid. We won't get into that because I don't want to get into that part of this conversation. But
girl, we can go wherever you want to go.
But something that you just said that was really amazingly triggering is that I think people forget that things were not real. Why do so many people in so many different parts of the world and distance have so many commonalities? Like
exactly.
I'm gonna use a silly example on this level, but I do have people that very much believe in like vampire lore, for example.
Ooh, I love vampires.
If vampires never existed, or if there were not this ability of people to have these genetic issues, which how's it unbelievably, there are people that are allergic to the sun. There are people that cannot feel their own blood, these blood transfusions, right?
My seventh grade teacher was, if he went in the sun, his skin would start like stinging.
Exactly. So how can people say like, oh, they don't exist, when if you go to Mayan culture, it is Aztec and Incan, they have the cold ones. If they talk to Native Americans, they have their own version. In Europe, we have their own versions. In Asia, they have their own versions. In Africa, they have their own versions. So how did people back in a time period where, unless you're going to travel for months and months on a fucking boat or on a horse, how do people in completely different cultures all have the same kind of theology? So it's like, you can't say shit is fake when it's not just happening from one paradigm. And also shift paradigm for me for a minute. We want to treat people how we treat ourselves. Here's the paradigm shift that I tell people. Look at how shitty everybody treats themselves. That's why they're treating people like shit.
Thank you.
That's why you're hating on yourself. You're addicted to drugs. You're putting yourself down. You give yourself low self-esteem. You hurt yourself. You overstress yourself. So of course you're going to treat other people like shit because you treat yourself like shit.
Exactly. You cannot, and see, but you so oftentimes hear people say, oh, I want a man like this, or I want a woman like this. Well, are you that way? Do you live your life with those characters and those qualities? Are you living from that place of power? Because you get what and receive what you're putting out and how you're treating yourself. You have to be what you want, what you say you want to attract. And of course you want those things in someone, but you must first cultivate them within yourself. Self-love, self-worth. And we have some comments over here. I think somebody might be a troll. Mabe is here. Mabe is so fabulous. She says, well, that's interesting. Some guy named Hitler's Mustache is saying, hi, girls, are you on meth? No, we're not on meth. And he says, N.A. God is a man. Okay, anyway, I think he's a troll. How many cats do you both own? Anyway, in 2016, they just finally officially said Mary Magdalene wasn't a prostitute and was an apostle. So much has been lost and hidden. Well, yeah, I mean, there's so
Mary
many.
Magdalene was not just a prostitute, but Jesus and her had two sons together. And before Mary gave birth to Jesus, her and Joseph had a whole other son too. So
yeah, and Adam and Eve only had.
I don't own any cats. I own a dog. Thank you very much.
I have a cat. Her name is Salmon, and she's fucking fabulous.
And your fucking name is Hitler.
Hitler's mustache. Hitler's mustache. Hitler's mustache.
Well, that's enough said. But you want to talk about that God is a man? Okay, sure. You could believe that all you fucking want to. You know what happened? If I hit you in the balls right now, you're going down, bro. You know what takes a fucking beating? My vagina on a monthly basis. That's to quote the great Betty White. So please,
love it. Yeah.
Please.
I think he's gone.
Badu.
Oh my God. So yeah, and to your point, Maeve, is that the Bible has been written and rewritten and rewritten and configured, and books have been omitted. I mean, Lilith, Adam's first wife, is a fable that's not in the Bible. And then you've got Adam and Eve. They had Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, and then she had Seth. And then it's like, okay, there's at least in the Bible I've read, in the 2 or 3 that I've had access to even recently, then there's Seth. But then it's like Cain gets cast out to the land of Nod with amongst all these other people, and he's all afraid. God, what if they hurt me and kill me because I killed my brother? And he goes, no, I'll curse them. Okay, well, where the hell did all these other people come from? They weren't descendants of Adam and Eve. So who's a descendant of Adam and Eve, and who's a descendant of all these other people that are just randomly over in this land of Nod? That
exactly.
No, we don't. And so to say that you're into anybody's into my interpretation of the Bible is right, and it says that homosexuality is a sin. Yeah,
all men in history for the most part were gay.
In the Roman, a lot of in the Romans, and homosexuality is so prevalent in nature. And again, the book talks about the sexual procreative habits of all kinds of beings.
Also, take note, if you have a brain and you can think for yourself.
Right.
If the Bible says that everything, animals and people, everything was created in the first 7 days of the planet Earth existing, then please ask yourself, when the fuck did dinosaurs come into play then?
Yeah.
When did mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and things that were proven real beings on this earth, when did that exist? If that all shit was created in those 7 days and nothing was to be spoken about from it.
Right.
So please ask yourself those questions. And also remember, end of day, the Bible is a book written by people, by men, and it's a book of fairy tales. Just like all stories are fucking folklorish. Please understand, no person split the fucking sea and people walked across it. No, that did not fucking happen. And if you really truly believe that, you really need to question how easy, gullible, and manipulated you can be.
It's called cognitive.
Why religion exists was to manipulate people for power and to gain control of countries.
Yeah.
You can't deny that. It's historically known. It's scientifically known. It is just fucking known. So get out of your bubble of when you go and have another person tell you.
Allow yourself access to what could be possible, what more could be possible for you and your life. And it's a level of cognitive dissonance, and we all can actually experience cognitive dissonance when we want to believe something. But and also it's like God, man and woman are created in the image of God. Well, I don't remember anything about the image of God being a slave.
Yes.
Why is it legal throughout the Bible to obtain ownership over other people? I don't remember the image of God being a subservient woman.
Thank you. I don't remember the image of God going and killing people, but yeah, you're all out here killing people by the masses. Different religions oppressing people's different cultures and what they believed in to obtain power. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I can quote it verbatim as an old school pre-Catholic. I can recall all the 8 Beatitudes and the 10 Commandments. And I'm pretty fucking positive 2 of the commandments, number 5 and 7, is thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not commit adultery. So please, even in today's modern world.
And there's so many wars that are fought in the name of God all throughout the Bible. And it's like, why would it not be a 10 commandment, thou shalt not obtain ownership over any other human being? And even in the commandment,
covet your neighbor, people are doing that.
Right, coveting, and we're property. We're nothing but property. Women, coveting your neighbor's property, his ox, his wife. Women were the property of men. And yeah, so we could go on and on and on.
But this is the thing where I'm like, if we're gonna talk about witchcraft and why I'm here, right? And why
Yes,
I'm
girl.
doing this.
Yes.
Okay. I'm literally doing this because women have to come back into reality that we are fucking powerful and we can obtain so much either through celibacy or through having orgasms galore. It depends on how you want to obtain your magic. But I'm just really doing this in purpose because I see the manipulation that they're trying to do to women all across the board. And I sit here strongly and letting people know that through knowing yourself well enough, whether that means knowing your astrological chart, whether that means knowing how you nutritiously feed yourself and nourish yourself, whether whatever spiritual practice you believe in or you do, that you have to remember at end of day, you are a fucking divine being, ladies. We literally, if you want to talk about the Big Bang Theory, if you want to talk about universal law and how everything's made from the pit of something dark to then bring to light, that is our womb in of itself. You want to talk about planting the seeds in the dark, wet dirt so it can grow into a beautiful plant that provides sustenance to us. That is what we fucking do. Right. So this is where it's like, I'm tired of seeing women either be over-sexualized and have it be a bad thing.
Right.
You have fucking sex and you fucking have sex. Listen, when people talk all this shit about, you know, how J-Lo's in her 50s and she needs to like calm down. I'm sorry.
I don't give a fuck if she's 150.
I wish I'm 32 right now and I could look like that woman. And everyone's like, oh, she's a slut. She's just going back and forth from man to man to man to man. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you?
But yet celebrating men who do that. But celebrating men.
Yes. Yes. And this is where it's like
paradigm must shift.
If you want to be more celibate, more conservative, be more
that's
safe
fine.
about who you let into your circle, makes total sense. Because guess what? The more men you take in, the more energy you get of them. And sometimes those men's energies are not what you want harvested in you.
At least understand what you want. Like I know if I want to share a sexual experience with someone, I'm not, you know, being horny and knowing that, oh, that guy's hot, or you know what I'm saying, or that girl's hot. Like that's a knowing. That is, I want to share that chemical experience, that exchange.
Yes.
And being more mindful, men need to be more mindful of as well. Who, you know, you're not just fucking to fuck. You know, there's an exchange of what?
Unfortunately, there are lots of people that are just doing that.
Oh God, I know. That's what I know. That's what I'm saying is that, you know, be mindful of who it is you're sharing that energy with. I mean, be more mindful of who you allow yourself to hang out with, who you surround yourself with. Sometimes we can't help who we're surrounded with, but a lot of times it is a choice. And again, it's a reflection of self.
Yes. And it's not just a reflection of self, but I always ask people that just have sex just to have sex. I'm like, what is the purpose? And they're like, oh, because I want to get my rocks off. And I'm like, okay. I was like, so why? What's your issue around having just the one partner? And they're like, oh, I don't believe in commitment. That's a patriarchal thing and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, is it patriarchal or is it because the longer you're with someone, the more you get to know them, the more you get to realize that people are going to grow. And that's an actual form of discipline, and it's actually another form of growth that you just don't want to have because it's too hard.
Right.
We're in a world where everything is, you could change it if you don't like it. Cancel culture is huge. People leave shit reviews for the dumbest reason and will take down somebody's whole business or character over one review just because you woke up and wanted to be a bitch that day. Like it's a thing where I'm like, don't people realize that through sexual manipulation, they can control you so easily? And it's like seriously, I always ask men this that can't stay loyal to their wives or to their girlfriends. And I was like, do you understand how weak that makes you look? That you're over here, you have your own house, you're making 6 figures, you're in shape, you got all these great things coming to you, but it's going to take let's be serious. Most of these men that are getting it in and cheating on their wives, it's not like they're having like hour-long episodes of amazing ecstasy. It's just because they want to get it off with what's available and acceptable at that time. That's giving it up. And this is where I'm like, do you realize how weak you look? And you want to talk about that you're the better sex? That you look so fucking weak that for like 5 minutes, you can ruin not just that woman's life that you're in, but ruin your whole setup just because you couldn't control your dick for 5 fucking minutes.
You know, and it's not that we're not talking about all men.
No, not all men. It's the lack of discipline that people have.
Right, but it's the point that so many, again, define their self-worth in what they're doing or what they have. So that, yeah, they've got all these great things. There's nothing wrong with having those things, but your true worth and value is how are you cultivating joy? How are you living a life you don't need a vacation from? How are you living a life that you're lit up by and that you're inspiring others? And that is male, men and women. And to your point, it's an emptiness, and it's always seeking something outside of yourself, whether it be having sex with somebody or having, the car, whatever. And again, the car is not the issue, but it's like, what are you lit up by? Are you living a lit up life?
Yes. And that's what I tell people with intimacy. I've had a very powerful relationship that I got out of that ended recently, where like I would travel cross country to see him because he was working a job across in California and we're in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. That your partner should be that person that you want to wake up and the first thing you think about are what you think about with your sneaky links or what you're thinking about with having a vacation away from your life. Your partner should be that fucking vacation for you 24/7. But in saying that, sometimes getting to your destination, getting to that vacation, you might have trouble. You might have some issues at the airport. And that is why I tell people with sex. Sometimes it's like, oh, you know what? I'm not having the best day. I'm sorry if I'm like really tired and the sex is gonna blow. It could mean like coming in 2 seconds because you're just like overexcited. Yeah. Like you need to look at your partner as your perfect vacation spot every day and understand that even a perfect vacation spot has problems. You can go on vacation if you're rain the whole fucking time. That doesn't mean that you're not somewhere gorgeous. And that's how you need to see your partner, is understand that we're fucking perfect. Mm-hmm. We're perfect people.
Absolutely.
We are fucking perfect. Our souls are perfect. Our bodies are made perfectly. It's just that we're going to have those moments of imperfectness moments. Whether it's going to be like, I have an acne breakout this week. I guess my skin's not so fucking perfect. I gained a lot of weight because I had a baby. Or I gained a lot of weight because of the fucking pandemic. That doesn't mean you still don't love your fucking destination.
Right.
And that's how I see intimacy. And that's why I love committed relationships. Because it's very easy to go have sex with 100 people and show out like you're the bomb in bed. It's harder to have sex 100 different ways with that person the rest of your life and keep that vacation spot still popping. So,
oh girl, I love that.
That's how I see it. Point blank.
So tell me about like when you're working with your clients and how, like, what type of client typically comes to you and like, oh, please help me, with this, with my relationship, with my self-esteem, with my sexuality.
A lot of people lately have been coming to me that have been healing from narcissistic abuse. And that might be because I just recently had that where I never had it before. So when I was in it, I had no idea I was in it until I was out of it. And then I was like, whoa, what the fuck? How did I not see that? So I'm attracting a lot of women that are struggling to figure out how to move on, how to get out, how to get their power back, and how to get over things that were said physically or verbally done to them by their narcissist. Right. So that seems to be a lot of where I'm getting at. And then the second thing would have to be women who actually have certain fetishes and kinks, but they've never had the practice to do it because they either had a partner that wasn't into it or a partner that didn't know how to do it right. And they don't know how to express their sexual fetish and kinks without it being awkward or without it making the man feel less than and stuff like that. I think men forget women are just as fucking kinky as they are.
Just as kinky and sexual. Very much so.
And it's harder for us to do it because there's so much of what we want to do where we want the man to know how to do it correctly. Even forget fetishes and kinks. We can talk something even as far as anal sex. There's so many women that want it, love it, get off to it, but the man never really learned how to do it. That's not a territory you want to really explore with someone that doesn't really have experience, because it's like you could really fucking hurt yourself or get bad infections. So it's like, please, I have grown adults. Listen, Steph, I have grown adults in their 30s and 40s who still don't know that after having sex with a condom, you should go wash yourself. They just like take it off, put their underwear back on and go about their day. And then they don't understand why they're getting UTIs, yeast infections, odor issues.
Oh my God. Every time you have penetration, a woman must use the bathroom so she can extricate any bacteria that may be remaining right around that urethra. Oh my God.
And not just with sex unprotectedly, but people forget that condoms' purpose is to kill sperm if God forbid it broke or when the sperm comes out. So there is spermicides on these condoms. That is a chemical that is going in your vagina. So yes, it is crucial to wash yourself after that. And the same thing for men. You just put that on your penis. So of course it's irritating. So this is where it's like I have grown ass adults, 30s and 40s, have been having sex forever, that don't know this and don't understand why they have issues.
Constant UTIs and
So if that is a problem, imagine a woman that's like, you know what? I've heard being choked right before orgasm intensifies it.
Right.
Can you imagine going to your husband who like never did it a day in his life and be like, sweetie, can you choke me?
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, I was watching this program on Netflix. It was called Sex Life. It was really cheesy.
Everyone needs to watch that shit.
Yeah, it was so like the storyline was really cheesy, but I could identify with her and like the main story of her life, you know, and it's like, whoa. But God, why did I even bring that up?
Because the boyfriend was hot and into kinky history and the husband was not.
Yeah, well, no, it was something you literally just said, but yeah, and it's just like, I don't even remember. Damn, I hate that.
It's choking.
Choking, yeah. So her friend loves being choked. You know, you remember that from the very beginning? That's what it was. Her friend loves being choked, but yeah, that was I mean, it was good, but then like towards the last few episodes, I'm like, come on, this is so stupid. It's just, I know the reality of some, like, because I have people who live certain aspects of that type of lifestyle.
Oh my God,
and I know, and it's like, they just made it very cheesified in certain incidences and not in like, oh God, come on, like, let's make this real. I want to be fucking, I was moved like the first episode. I was like, oh my God, this girl, like,
that's what a lot of women think, and that's another thing that men don't realize. Men might miss the freak out in the freaks out in the street, and that's because a woman's not doing it. Women think the same way, because I don't think men realize, especially like the newer generations and millennials, we be fucking. So if we've had great exes that were above subpar, and then the man we're married to is like, please understand, sir, you're not the only one wishing you had a freak. So do we. I tell people, I literally just said this in my last podcast. I was like, I realize the equivalent for women. Men say they want a lady in the street, lady in the street. A woman wants a providing, loyal, loving husband who can still fuck her like a bad boy.
Yes.
Seriously. I'm tired that you can have one of these.
And you know, maybe you don't, but a lot of women do, and they won't admit it.
Yes.
And that, again, and that's just allowing yourself to have access. Okay. You know, because I can, you know, somebody could present something to me and I could go, and it might not be something that I would normally think of. And I could go, no, actually not for me. You know, and that's, you know, that's okay. But yeah, a lady in the sheets, but a freak in the bed. Yeah.
Yes. And for me it is. And
it is, but you're right.
I can attest to this. I definitely can attest to this. I never thought I would openly admit this on the air, but I will.
I love it.
The man, a few men that I was in long committed relationships with had everything else that I liked: provider, loyal, hard worker,
Oh yeah.
participated in housework, sexy ass body. But there were always those other exes that had none of those things.
Right.
But the sex was amazing.
Yeah.
That every time they'd come back around, you question yourself. And that is why I think that show is actually brilliant, because I
Yes.
can tell you how many of my clients that are mothers, especially,
Yeah.
that lose themselves because they become wife and mother and worker,
Right.
that get tempted when their hot exes before they became settled down come back and play and remind them of who they were before they were any of that.
Exactly.
And that's a real thing. And I have to tell them, you need to figure out how to do this with your man. So if your man is a little too fucking vanilla, you're not having the conversations with your man that are nasty. Because I guarantee that vanilla man has some nasty porn that he's not telling you about.
And I have been in those relationships where, and fortunately for me, now I'm in a good relationship with somebody who, has all of that. But
Wonderful.
I have been in those relationships where the guy had, he was sexy. He was, due diligence, hard worker, great mindset, but like smack my ass. What? And that is a turnoff.
When
It's
a
a
woman
turn
knows
off,
shit.
and it makes you, and see, and here I'm a very, 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 very lustful, very sexual person. Always have been. So yeah, for me to, I could never settle, because that is important to me. That sex, that sexually, that very sexual sex is very important to me. But I mean, I'm not going to be mistreated or suffer, or like put up with long-term bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've all, nobody's perfect. People have their bullshit in their relationship. I certainly have, but it's like, at the end of the day, yeah, oh, well, you can't have it all. Oh, yes, the hell you can. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way, you're right. And that's in anything, any realm of anything in life. So, but girl, we are almost at an hour, and I know Instagram cuts us off at an hour, and I know yo ass got a client pretty soon after this that you need to prepare for.
Yes.
And clear your space and get your, any last things that you'd like to share? Tell people how they can get a hold of you, work with you.
So I am Goddess Canela, the word goddess, and Canela is cinnamon in Spanish, Canela. Follow me on Instagram. That is my main platform. So Goddess Canela on Instagram. And also my last form of advice, everybody, is if you have not touched yourself today, go touch yourself right now.
Hail to the
and give yourself love today.
Yes. My God, that is a perfect way to,
I don't think anything else. If you have a partner, let them touch you.
Yeah. And touch them.
Back.
Yeah.
Don't have sex, just touch. Just touch.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
Just touch.
Canela, it has been an amazing honor having you on today.
Thank you. We have to do this again. We're having you on my show in 2 weeks.
I know, girl. I'm about to jump through my skin.
We're going to be talking about aphrodisiacs. Since you love to cook and I love to cook, so I'm hyped for it.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Mabe, for joining us today, and the others. Even if you were negative. Anyway, so because any attention, you know what I'm saying? It's like, put it out there. We're putting it out there. We're having conversation, and maybe we said something because he jumped off. Maybe we said something that made him go, okay, maybe I need to think about this. And then he, is something different.
Positive out there that maybe he's had some enlightenment.
Right. Maybe Hitler's mustache. He was coming at us from YouTube. So maybe he had some enlightenment, some epiphanies today through two goddess queens sharing their hearts, their minds, their powerful empowerment and love for all of humanity.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining Empowered Conversations.
Thank
You can stay right
you.
here, Canela, while I say goodbye to everybody. Now, next week, there will be no Empowered Conversations. I'm in New York. So fucking excited. It's such an incredible time for me. Going to be on Chef Clemenza Caserta's show, Sunday Dinner with Chef Clemenza. It is such an honor. I'm starting a new travel blog podcast, Deep Rick and Licious Conversations, where I'm combining the two, and it's one of my big dreams. And yeah, so we will return with Empowered Conversations the following week. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Happy weekend.